My name is Jill Hicks. I'm 27 years old, and for most of my life, trust has felt like something other people were born knowing how to use. I wasn't. I learned the hard way, through a betrayal that taught me how quiet a person can become when the people she loves turn their backs on her. But let me start at the beginning, before the wounds formed their scars. When I was 17, I had a girlfriend, Kira Quinn. We had known each other since kindergarten, back when dating meant sharing colored pencils and calling each other husband and wife on the playground. It was childish, harmless pretending. But somewhere along the way, it started feeling real. In high school, we finally made it official. I thought I was stepping into my first love story. I didn't know it would also be my first lesson in humiliation. A year into our relationship, my older sister Sabrina pulled me aside one afternoon. She had this strange look on her face, like she was trying to hide excitement and guilt at the same time. "Jill, I think you should know something," she said, voice quivering in a way that wasn't sorrow. It was anticipation. Then she told me she and Kira had been seeing each other behind my back. I stared at her, unable to breathe. At first I thought she was lying or trying to hurt me. Sabrina had always wanted to be the center of gravity in any room, and when she wasn't, she found a way to orbit herself around everyone else's attention. But when I confronted Kira, she didn't deny it. She just whispered, "I'm sorry," as if the apology could undo the knife she'd shoved into me. I remember asking my parents for help, for support, for anything, but they just brushed it off. "Oh, sweetheart, you and Kira have been together since you were kids. It's not real," my mom laughed, waving her hand like I was describing a spilt glass of milk instead of a broken heart. My dad chimed in with, "It's high school drama, Jill. Sabrina probably didn't mean anything by it." I remember thinking, they knew? They knew and didn't warn me? Didn't defend me? Didn't even ask if I was okay? Love felt like a joke they were all in on, except me. That night, I locked my door, sat on the floor, and cried until my chest felt hollow. But when the crying stopped, something else grew in its place. Determination. A desire to leave behind the people who saw me as an afterthought. By the time graduation came, I had made up my mind. At 19, I moved to Texas. I contacted my family only on holidays, out of obligation more than affection. It was easier to keep conversations shallow. They always managed to steer things back to Sabrina, her new job, her new boyfriend, her new this, her new that. It was like my life didn't exist unless it was orbiting hers. Texas felt like the first breath after being underwater for years. I found work, built a small life, kept mostly to myself. And then one day, something changed. I walked into a bakery owned by a woman with warm eyes and a sense of humor sharp enough to slice butter. Behind the counter was her son, Marcus Hale. Marcus wasn't the kind of man who charmed a room. He was the type who stayed quietly in the corner, noticing everything, speaking only when he had something worth saying, a man who looked like he'd been hurt before too. We became friends, hesitant at first, careful around each other like animals who'd been trapped before. Our trust grew slowly, organically. After a year, when we finally agreed to try dating, it wasn't fireworks I felt. It was safety, stability, a love that didn't require me to shrink or doubt or fight to be chosen. His family welcomed me instantly. The day Marcus and I got married, his mother cried harder than I did. My parents didn't show up. Neither did Sabrina. I had invited them, even called the day before, but the excuse was simple. Sabrina said she didn't feel well, so we'll stay with her. Marcus squeezed my hand at the ceremony and whispered, "You have us. That's enough." He was right. For years, life felt calm, predictable, healing. And if there was one thing I always knew about Marcus, it was this. He would stand behind me in any argument, even if I was wrong. And I would do the same. Which brings me to 1 week ago. Marcus and I were in the kitchen, chopping vegetables and listening to music. Nothing dramatic, nothing emotional, just a normal evening. When my phone rang and I saw my mother's name, I didn't think anything of it. We rarely spoke, and when we did, it was always about Sabrina. "I'm putting it on speaker," I told Marcus. He nodded. My mother's voice came through the phone, strangely cheerful. "Jill? Honey, can we talk a moment?" "Sure," I said, mildly distracted as I stirred a pot on the stove. She took a deep breath, as if preparing to deliver life-changing news. "Well, your sisters Sabrina and Kira are getting married, and Sabrina wanted me to ask if you'd be her maid of honor." The kitchen went silent. I blinked, confused, stunned, and then Marcus let out this tiny, incredulous snort. I looked at him, and we both just broke. into laughter. Real, uncontrollable laughter. Part shock, part disbelief, part years of buried wounds suddenly ripped open in the most absurd way possible. My mother gasped, then she hung up. Marcus and I kept laughing. Because what else do you do when your ex-girlfriend and your sister decide to get married, and your mother thinks you should be the one holding the bouquet for them? We finished cooking. We ate dinner. We watched a movie. For the first time in years, I didn't think about my family after the call. I let it roll off my shoulders like rain. But the next morning, when I checked my phone, I had a different reaction entirely. 37 messages, all from my father and Sabrina. How dare you laugh at your mother? She was crying for hours. You're selfish. You should have told your husband to behave. Apologize now. And the strangest message of all, your sister is hurt that you didn't say congratulations. I stared at my screen, heart pounding. A rotten feeling crawled into my chest. Something was wrong. Something didn't add up. This wasn't about a wedding. This was about control. And I had a sinking feeling it was only the beginning. I stared at the barrage of messages lighting up my phone, each one more dramatic than the last. My father kept insisting I had shattered Mom's heart, that I'd embarrassed the family, and that my laughter made me just as cruel as Sabrina always said. Sabrina's messages were shorter, sharper, like little knives. Grow up, Jill. Mom was trying to be nice. You ruined everything. Marcus walked into the room, towel around his neck from his morning shower. One glance at my face, and he stopped mid-step. What happened? I handed him my phone. His expression darkened as he scrolled. Jill, this isn't normal. It's just how they are, I whispered, but the words tasted bitter. He sat beside me and pressed his palm over mine. You don't have to let them talk to you like this. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But the part of me, conditioned to accept their behavior, the part they had groomed for years, kept whispering, maybe you did overreact. Maybe laughter was too much. Still, something about the messages nagged at me. Something felt off. My sister wasn't the type to need a messenger. Sabrina loved attention too much to ever let someone else deliver her news. If she truly wanted me involved, she would have called herself, dramatically, with full theatrics. I swallowed hard. I think I need answers. Marcus nodded. Then call her. I'm right here. I dialed Sabrina with trembling fingers. She picked up on the second ring, already irritated. What? Sabrina, I said slowly, Mom told me you and Kira are getting married. Silence. Not shocked silence, annoyed silence. Yeah, she finally muttered. And she said you wanted me to be your maid of honor. Sabrina let out an exaggerated snort. What? Jill, why would I ever ask you to do that? My stomach dropped. So Mom lied. I never asked her to tell you anything, Sabrina continued. Actually, I told her not to involve you because, history. History. As if Kira cheating on me with her wasn't a wound I carried for years. As if it was something small, something funny. But she called, I whispered. She said you wanted me there. Well, she's wrong, Sabrina snapped. I didn't even plan on inviting you. The room spun. Marcus watched my face, jaw tightening. Sabrina, why would Mom... Because she wants us all to get along, Sabrina interrupted, her tone mocking. She's been trying to force this perfect family fantasy since forever. I told her it was stupid, but whatever. Don't come. Problem solved. She hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone, heart pounding. My mother hadn't just exaggerated. She hadn't misunderstood. She invented an entire story. Fake invitation. Fake maid of honor request. Fake reconciliation attempt. Marcus exhaled sharply. Call her. So I did, and she answered with a sniff, already performing grief. Jill, honey, are you calling to apologize? Mom, I said quietly, why did you tell me Sabrina wanted me to be in the wedding? She hesitated, just long enough for the truth to surface. I just thought, if you girls talked, maybe you'd reconnect. But you didn't even ask her, I said. She never invited me. In fact, she doesn't want me there. Mom's voice softened into that manipulative tremble she'd perfected over the years. Sweetheart, I only wanted peace. You've been gone for so long. We miss you. No, I whispered. You miss controlling me. The line went silent. Then, how could you say that, after everything this family has done for you? The bite in her voice struck hard. Marcus took the phone gently from my hand and pressed the speaker button. Mrs. Hicks, he said calmly, you lied to her. That's not something a loving parent does. My mother gasped. You don't get to talk to me like that. This is family business. Jill is my wife, Marcus replied, his voice steady. So it involves me. I had never loved him more. My mother's tone shifted from anger to pure venom. I warned Sabrina you'd turn Jill against us. Your type always does. Marcus flinched. The insult wasn't subtle. It was a jab at his background, his heritage. I stepped forward. We're done here. Jill. I said we're done. I hung up. For a moment, the house was quiet. Too quiet. My heart thundered in my ears. Marcus wrapped his arms around me. I'm sorry, he whispered. Why? Because they keep hurting you, and I can't stop it. His voice trembled, and in that soft break, I realized something. I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. I was protecting our family, our future, our child. I placed his hand on my stomach. I didn't want to tell them yet, I murmured. But, Marcus, I'm pregnant. His eyes widened, then softened into something warm, reverent. He kissed my forehead. We're going to be okay. And for a moment, I believed him. But peace didn't last. 2 days later, the situation exploded. My phone buzzed nonstop, not just from Sabrina or my parents, but from Kira's friends, Sabrina's friends, and even people I didn't recognize. Someone had leaked the drama. And the messages, God, they weren't just cruel, they were racist, personal, targeted at my pregnancy. One said, that baby doesn't deserve your family name. Another, maybe you're laughing now, but you'll be crying when that thing is born. Marcus found me curled on the floor, shaking so violently I couldn't speak. He held me through the panic attack, whispering, breathe, I've got you, I'm here, always. That night, I turned off my phone, completely. No notifications, no contact, nothing. For the first time in years, silence felt like safety. But deep down, I knew the truth. My family wasn't going to let me walk away quietly. And the worst of it was still coming. For the first 48 hours, turning off my phone felt like stepping out of a storm I'd been trapped in for years. No buzzing, no insults, no guilt bombs disguised as family concern. Just quiet. But quiet doesn't mean safe. Not when the people you're escaping pride themselves on never letting you forget where you came from. By day 3, my mother had reached out to Marcus's work phone. By day 4, Sabrina messaged my in-laws on social media, pretending she was worried about my mental state. By day 5, Kira's friends were tagging Marcus's bakery in hateful posts, accusing him of encouraging Jill to abandon her family. Every act of harassment was another reminder. They weren't letting me leave. They were tightening their grip. And then, just when the pressure became unbearable, everything snapped. The online spread. A friend of ours finally warned Marcus that a Reddit thread was circulating. Someone had taken pieces of the family drama and twisted it for views. Comments poured in from strangers, some sympathetic, others cruel. But the worst part wasn't the online strangers. It was the messages leaking into my silence. Marcus tried his best to intercept them, but eventually one slipped through after he forgot to silence an unknown caller. It was my sister's voice. Sabrina, tell Jill she's pathetic for hiding. And tell her no one wants her at the wedding anyway. She can stay in her little Texas life and pretend she's better than us. Marcus ended the call with a quiet, don't ever contact my wife again. But it didn't matter. The damage was already done. I couldn't eat that day, couldn't sleep. I kept rubbing my stomach as if I could shield the baby from words it would never hear. Marcus noticed. He pulled me close in the dim light of our living room. Jill, he whispered, voice tight. This isn't just emotional anymore. It's psychological warfare. I know, I breathed. They always do this. They make me feel crazy for wanting boundaries. He cupped my face gently. Look at me. I did. And I saw the truth in his eyes before he said it. They're not your family. Not anymore. Something broke in me at those words. Not painfully, but like a chain finally snapping. The panic attack. The panic attack hit that night. One moment I was brushing my teeth. The next I was curled on the bathroom floor, gasping like the air had turned to smoke. My heart hammered so violently I thought I might black out. Marcus found me, dropped to his knees, and pulled me into his arms. Jill, breathe. Baby, breathe. Slow it down. I'm right here. His voice was the only solid thing in the room. But when I finally calmed enough to speak, the fear spilled out. What if they don't stop? What if they come here? What if they find us? What if... He pressed his forehead to mine. Then we protect what's ours. Jill, you're not alone. You're never alone again. I cried into his chest until exhaustion took over. The last straw. 3 days later, something happened that changed everything. My mother sent a message, not to me, but to Marcus's mother. Tell your son to control his wife. She's destroying our family. If she thinks she can keep that baby away from its real grandparents, she's mistaken. Real grandparents. As if love was defined by DNA. As if they had ever shown interest in me, beyond how useful I was to their image. Marcus's mother, bless her, called us immediately, trembling with anger. She will never speak about my grandchild again, she said. This ends now. Marcus hung up and said the words I had been avoiding for years. Jill, you deserve peace, not permission. Cut them off. I stared at him, finally realizing something profound. Every time I had given my family another chance, they used it to claw deeper into my life. Every time I tried to forgive, they turned forgiveness into another weapon. And now there was more than just me at stake. There was a heartbeat inside me, a future, a child who deserved better than the legacy of manipulation and cruelty I'd been raised in. So I made a decision, one I should have made years ago. I'm done, I whispered. I'm done forever. Marcus pulled me into a fierce embrace, relief washing over him like a wave. We'll build something better, he murmured. You and me, and our baby. 21 days later. 3 weeks passed. The quiet I once feared now felt like freedom. We blocked every number, deleted every email, locked every social account, moved to a new phone plan, even notified our workplaces to block contact attempts. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, my life became mine again. One morning, Marcus came into the kitchen holding the latest ultrasound photo. His eyes were wet. It's healthy, he whispered. Strong heartbeat. And Jill, the doctor said everything looks perfect. I covered my mouth, tears spilling instantly. Perfect. A word I had never associated with family before. Marcus grinned. Also, you should know, I read that Reddit thread. People loved you, but one thing upset me. I raised an eyebrow. You said you giggled when your mom made that ridiculous call. I blinked. Yeah? He smirked. No, sweetheart, you didn't giggle. You cackled. Full witch mode. I burst into laughter, a sound bright enough to fill the entire kitchen. For the first time in a long time, it didn't hurt. It didn't feel like a betrayal. It felt like joy. We stood there, laughing, holding our baby's first picture between us, a tangible reminder that some families you are born into, and some families you build from scratch, with love and intention and courage. I chose mine, and I wasn't looking back.